All right, so Rory, we've been talking about right now, people are at home, there's a little bit of stress going around, and you and I have been bantering a little bit on text and over phone calls about some of our classic CrossFit days that just get us all just kind of reminiscing on some really, really good times. And so today's episode is just about taking people's minds, letting them kind of reflect back on where we came from and just get a little bit of comedy, a little bit of reminiscing, a little bit of nostalgia for 30 minutes to an hour. You ready for it?
The best old days, dude. Bring it on. Bring it on.
Hey, where should we start, man? You and I were just talking about so over the years, there's been a lot of unique events at the CrossFit Games. One of them that you had pulled up was where you sledgehammer a pipe into the floor. And this was at the 2009 CrossFit Games, right?
9 games.
And so tell me, why did you have that one pulled up? Because I think it's a great one.
Well, here's the deal. So 2007 games was 3 events, and it was like as rudimentary as it could get. Like we thought we saw a big mix. Last time we talked about 2008, where there's a little bit more diversity, but it was still kind of show up and blow up. And it was still, what did we do that year? Still 4 events? Was it?
Yeah, 4 events. Yeah.
And well, so here we are the next year, and this is when people were like, "Oh my God, it's just crazy," because it ended up being like 12 events or something like that, which at the time seemed mind blowing. But this video that I'm going to pull up, I got it pulled up to a part about you, but it's literally titled, "Is it too hard?" Like, at the time,
well, because
and we thought it was.
Imagine that jump, bro. You went from 3 events to 4 events to, oh no, we got 12 events. And some of them were like, a snatch event, for example, we want to talk about. Whereas nowadays in the CrossFit Games, like 40 events, whatever it is, over a week long.
Totally. So actually here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it ended up being 7 events, and everybody was like, so there's 3 more than there were. But
I remember that. I remember that title. Is this going to be too hard?
Is this too hard? And one thing I should say before we even get going, I'll show you my screen. So I've got right now, this is what I've got pulled up is the 2009 results. So I was just showing people how I spin around. Like you go to games2009.crossfit.com, and up here you've just got a link to all the results. So that's where you can kind of see. You can. This
and they made cuts. So they made cuts that year, right? Oh yeah, look, you can see the cuts.
So you can see the cut. It's fairly clear.
1 cut, 2 cut, 3 cuts, 4 cuts. And I talked about this last time, but it's funny. Like my early day, like accomplishments were always like, "Hey, make it through the cuts." Make it through the cuts, and you're like golden. But yeah, dude. Talk us through the event.
All right. And the other cool thing was, so this was the first time, like everybody talks about unknown and unknowable, but everybody's like, yeah, sure, but it's still CrossFit workouts. This is the first time they were like, here's a sledgehammer and here's a rod. Let's just see what you got. So it was, man, I'll mess it up, but it was,
I think it was 500-meter row, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And then pound this thing into the ground. And so I'm queuing it up to a point like right before you take the field, and we'll just kind of get it's full sound, and Khalipa being interviewed here. All right, 3, 2, 1.
Still leaving at least enough in the tank.
I messed that up.
It was perfectly cued for Tony Budding.
No. Here we go, Tony Budding. All right, we'll let him talk.
Yeah.
And fatigue yourself so much that pounding that stake into the ground becomes almost an unreasonable task. So there's going to be some very intelligent strategy.
Oh, man. You're just watching people just whip it.
That they can intelligently pound the stake into the ground. There's a lot of coordination required in pounding that in.
Oh, man.
Too hard.
And you remember a girl named Nicole obliterated her finger.
Nothing.
Oh.
So there was actually an injury off of this too.
Bigger swings, that's going to be determined by how accurate you can be.
All right, I messed it up, so I'm going to go back. Here comes Khalipa. Right.
Oh, man.
Here we go. This is Savon asked you, have you ever done anything like this before?
Pull for my fucking life. You done any stuff like this, Jason?
Not really. I've messed around with the against the tire. I'm sure that's probably what you do. But it's going to be totally different, I mean, I honestly have no idea what to expect.
So here's the field of play.
So if you guys can't see this on the screen, this is old school at the ranch, right? And you have all these rowers lined up. And at the time, there was, I don't want to say controversy, but a little bit of controversy because the dirt had been dug out. So for those people that don't know, the dirt had been dug out with, just
a backhoe, like a
backhoe. Yeah. And then basically after the backhoe, they had then replaced the dirt. And then, quote, they said they packed it to the exact same. But let's see if you can see it on the screen how some of them, you'd hit it once and they go shooting down.
Oh, dear.
And other ones, they'd be struggling with it for an hour.
I bet you if I work hard enough, I'll be able to find even like where people are complaining about that.
Oh, man.
Like this is where we're back to the guy whiffing. So this is just an excerpt. But yeah, you can see like some people had theirs all the way down. It's back to the same thing that's going on with like Castro and Pat Vellner right now on Castro's Instagram, where they're like, yo, some sleds in some lanes went faster than other ones. It was the same kind of argument. It was like, yeah, you dug it out, but was it uniform when you put it back in? That was the big kind of, and people, of course, were arguing against it and people were arguing for it, but that was the fun back then.
As a guy who was there and as a guy who did it, I'll never forget, I get off the rower, which I'm a good rower. So I was like, all right, this is a good event for me. But just be calm, be controlled on this damn, thing. And I get there and I'm hitting it and I'm hitting it. I'm watching the guy next to me. He's hitting it. And like his hits were going farther than my hits. I was like, shoot. And so I'm hitting it. And you can see there is definitely a discrepancy in, like, so everybody's probably hitting it, whatever. And then, dude, I get like maybe, I'm thinking I'm going to lose the event. And I get like maybe a foot down and I hit it one time. It goes all the way down. I'm like, whoa. And but that was a good example of how, there was discrepancies there. But I mean, that's just the way it is, man. Like you got to ride with it.
So beyond that one, there was another event that I think is like probably all time difficult, at least like watching it. People were like, that's the hardest thing that I've ever seen people do. What was the hardest event for you that year? You mean
the hill run?
Yeah, dude.
Oh man, let me turn back on the slide. Dude, that hill run was so brutal. Oh man. So I got it queued up. Oh, you got it right here. Oh, dude, you know what's so funny about this run? Wait, do you have mine? Is this me?
This is you versus Spieler.
Oh man. All right, go ahead, play it. So you had to run back and grab a sandbag. And there was a lot of people that kind of whiffed it, right? Because
there's 2 of them, right? And it was like, it sounds simple, but yeah, the bag management, look at Spieler. Like the bag management was one thing in particular.
Dude, so I started off, so on this event, it was like, how far was it? Maybe 200 meters, like straight up a hill.
Probably 110, 115, yeah.
Yeah, and man, I'm in the lead and I'm feeling good. And there's the fans on the side and we're vibing. And then all of a sudden, I get like 3/4 of the way up. And damn, and I'm trying to like block him. Like I'm trying to like, do whatever I can. And then Spieler comes out of nowhere and just passes us right before the finish line. Oh man, he crushed that event. He did so good. Watch, you'll see it right here. He slides right in between us.
He's like, sees the move, but look at the legs already, dude. You can see that the legs are just full of lactic acid and dying. And look, oh dude, look, you just turned it into a march.
No. And he gets the win.
But I love the rawness. Do you see Ben Bergeron there up in the corner yelling at people's faces? Like, this is old school Aromas, man.
Oh, dude, that is old school Aromas. It's funny. Oh, look, right there at the end, I came back. But, so it's funny. We all lay on the floor, right? And on the way down, see, what people don't realize is on the way up, it was really tough, right? You got, 100-pound sandbag. You're sprinting up a hill against your competitors. But dude, I laid up there for a while because your legs were just so shot. It took me a long time to walk back down that hill. Oh yeah, it took a lot of people a long time.
Here's a little glimpse of you finding a resting place. I think I'll sit here for a while.
Oh, look at Spiel. He's getting
up there in agony. So that was a good year. And you mentioned this, but like, yeah, this is kind of a cool look back because this was Aromas when it was at its biggest. This was the biggest crowd that ever came. And of course, there's rumors this year about going back to Aromas. So we'll flip forward in a little while and look at 2016 when we revisited Aromas with no crowd. And it could be an interesting preview of what may be coming up soon.
Yeah, we talked about this before, but 2009 CrossFit Games were really interesting because you had this guy from Finland at the time, and 2008 and 2007 were like mainly American, California, like, whatever. And then all of a sudden this dude comes from overseas, doesn't really speak much English, and just wins. And he had his shirt tucked in, and he was just like a different breed of specimen. He was like a machine. And dude, I mean,
Yes.
he won the event. He's just like, he speaks no English, but where's my winning money? Where's my money that I get to take home? Because I think he won $5,000, which,
what was even like,
remember that?
oh yeah, dude, making it rain.
Man.
And that was like, you saw him immediately. Actually, remember he was right on Spieler's heels on a 7K trail run, and then he deadlifts 495 pounds, and immediately everybody was like, "Uh-oh."
Oh yeah. Oh, this guy's real.
Yeah, he's real,
dude. But what's also unique that year, and for people who are just getting into the sport, Rory and I are kind of going back at how the sport evolved, and it is really interesting because 2009, probably more than any other year, is a year that I look at and say, wow, we've came a long way, specifically from the Snatch event, because it's just such a black and white event, right? Like, you have snatching now, you have snatching then, you have people that are CrossFitters. We're not just like professional, Olympic lifters. Like, of course, Ollie lifters at the time were probably doing a lot more, but when you were CrossFit, you didn't train the modality as much. But I remember they had a single modality snatch day, and I was actually really excited about it. But do you have those cues clip? Do you have it brought up?
Oh yeah, I do.
Oh man, this was good because it's the easiest way to look at where the sport was 10 years ago and where it is now.
Yeah, and I forget what the time limit was, but it was literally just work up to a 1-rep snatch.
Yeah, I think it was like, I don't know, 15 minutes or something like that. And it was just work up to a 1-rep max snatch. It was a really nice event for the day because we had been just blasted. And so it was a really nice one to kind of come out, be chill, and just lift heavy. But if you watch the movement in these videos, people, I mean, go ahead, put it on the screen. People are going to just be like, what the hell are these guys doing?
I thought I was sharing, actually. My bad.
No, I don't see it yet.
I've been enjoying it this whole time.
You got my mom and dad on there or what?
Yeah, let's see. That was it. Here we go. All right. That's the one we're looking for. You got it now?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. Coach Bergner sounding off.
Oh man. And just everybody's just kind of like, the judges don't have any like custom shirts on. It's just old school. But look at those fans. They're ready for some lifting. There's my judge.
Look at your judge briefing you. This is Bobby Millsaps.
Yeah, Bobby. There's OPT. He was the 2007 CrossFit Games champion.
Sounds good. All right. Thank you very much.
Oh man, this is a good event.
You got a printed jersey.
Oh yeah.
There's my brother-in-law Jordan on the camera back in the back.
Oh, there's mom. There's mom.
There she is.
Look at her. Oh, hello, Jay. Oh man. And then my dad's with his camera. But let's fast forward to some of the lifts, man. It's gonna be good.
Right, so look at some of these openers where at like 135, 155.
There's Austin, Coach Austin Begibi. I think I'm at 2. So at the time, you got to remember, Reds back then weren't 55s; they were 45s.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah. So you're basically what are you at? 185.
So I was at 205 right there. 205 is on the bar right now, and let's see.
Look at that.
Oh man.
Let's call it a muscle snatch.
And so that was a big lift at the time. I think the winner of this event, you could look at the, I think it was him.
That's Mark Kelsey, yeah, 205.
I think he got 225 was like a big deal. And I want to say like people were PRing. No one was squat snatching. I mean, everybody was just powering it up ugly as possible.
Oh, I remember that
Look
too.
at that. Remember that one?
Yes, dude. That was that's Commando Steve.
No,
Commando
yeah.
Steve.
Dude. Remember, they didn't have a rule for that. So he caught it over his head. He dropped that in like a lunge. Remember that? His knee grazed the floor, and then he stood up with it. Oh,
man.
man.
Every time, even.
Oh, look at Jeremy Teal. Oh, man.
Here's an Aromas crowd for you. Let's see if I can get to the. Okay, yeah, we don't have the end there. That's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is hugely indicative. Like, good call on that one. Like, that is definitely tell you where the sport was at the time.
So to put in perspective for everybody who's kind of like, newer to the game, I mean, back then I walked in at, I think my PR snatch was 215 in 2009 CrossFit Games, like before that. I want to say maybe in this event, I think you have the leaderboard, but I want to say maybe I did 225, maybe I did 215. I don't remember, but I remember 215. And I PR'd my snatch at 215 there. And now there's people at the CrossFit Games that could probably do 215 for 30 reps in a row.
Oh my God. It's funny, dude. I'm looking at I've sorted by snatch and I can't find, oh, you know what? Your score's not even on there because it only shows scores for the people that made the final cuts. It's funny. That's a leaderboard. The leaderboard.
I made the final cut.
Oh, that's weird. So look at this. I'm messing this up. So I sorted by snatch, and it only gives me scores for.
Oh,
yeah, there you are. I'm sorry, there you are. You did hit 225. You hit 225.
Oh, I hit 220. Yeah, I took second in that.
So yeah, Jeff Leonard with a big 240.
But yeah, but what's funny is 225. That was a PR snatch, and I mean, dude, that nowadays, I mean, what do you think, Matt Frazier? How many times can he do 225?
It's a warm up.
It's not even like a thing, you know. And what do you think that is though? What do you think that is though? Seriously, is it one of those things where you watch someone hit a 4-minute mile and then all of a sudden you have 10 more people hit a 4-minute mile? Or what do you think it is kind of trending the sport forward? People can become more professional in it so they can train more? You think it's because they're seeing other people do it? What do you think it is?
Yeah, I mean, listen, this was 10 years ago, right? Almost more than that. And so it's the number of things, right? Like at this point, how many times a week or even a month were you throwing snatch, or take it back a notch and be like, how many times a week were you doing footwork drills or actual technique drills for the snatch, right? So I think one thing is that people just became accustomed to the sport. Like we said in our last conversation, this same year, like if we were to look at the women's back snatch, Annie Thorisdottir had never done one. Like she had never even tried the movement before. And so think about all the things that have happened between then and now, just in your gyms, like your local, your regular members at your gyms, much less what was happening with the top athletes in the space. Now, some of whom are like, I know that, obviously Tia Claire won the freaking Commonwealth Games, right?
Yeah,
like,
I mean, she's legit.
Competitive on the international scene. So yeah, I think it was the natural progress of these movements being incorporated so heavily into our sport, and then our athletes having such a like large breadth of fitness that they practice them basically to be good at CrossFit, and in so doing, became as good as some of the best on the planet.
That's really interesting though, because we talk about exposure. And so, yeah, to your point, I was only exposed to Snatch maybe a year before that. And the more you get exposed to something, the better you typically get at it. And I mean, that's something like I learned with the Henshaw, right? Just putting in hours and hours and hours on the track and learning how to pace. And there's a lot of nuances you get from just being in the trenches and practicing these things. So that's really true.
And it's anything, right? Like during this quarantine, I don't know if I mentioned this last time, I'm trying to learn how to play the guitar. And it's like being a child again, like when you, and then seeing the acquisition of the skills, like the more you practice, the more you get better, and progress comes a little bit at a time, like very little by very little. But it's the same thing with the movement as complex as the snatch. Yeah. Like the more exposure, the more practice, the better you get at it. Like you can only go so far in brute strength. We all know that.
Yeah. So, what's interesting, moving forward from the 2009 games,
hold that thought. And all I want to say is for people that are looking to binge watch something, I just went to YouTube. I searched for 2019 games, and this playlist
2009
sorry, has the entire start to finish. You've got every single event of
what other events on there look pretty good.
Man, you know what? Well, I was looking at the leaderboard to figure that out, and I loved Sandbag Sprint's a great one to watch.
Yeah,
the couplet was really fun to watch.
That's the wall ball one and Snatch.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And then an empty bar snatch.
Yeah.
And then the chipper was one of my all-time favorites because and remember, the finales of the games have changed in like it wasn't always short and explosive. It wasn't always 2-part finales. Like this was kind of the start of an era where it was a long kick you in the stomach kind of finale.
Yeah, and they finished it with an overhead walking lunge. And that was really interesting because it was just a very easy visibly to be able to see who was winning. You took a plate and you put over your head and you walked lunge with it for, I don't know, 100 feet or something like that. And that was an easy way to tell who was winning. Oh, man. Those are some good events.
But
it's interesting how scoring has progressed, though, because so talking about scoring, I mean, I'm not bitter about this. It's just the way it went. But I finished 72nd on the first event, which was the hill run that I passed out on. But because they made cuts, it was really hard to make up those points because the point system, like at the end, the worst you were going to get was 10th place, whereas in the beginning, the worst you get is 75th. And it just is what it is. But now over the years, they're adjusting to that, right? I mean, you've seen adjustments made to point systems.
Oh yeah, for sure. And it's still an interesting conversation. Like, I think we've probably arrived, like with the points tables and the way that points are allocated. I think we've arrived at the best solution because here's the difficult thing when talking about scoring. I'll be short with this, but the point is, you want it to be as fair as possible for a crazy sport like ours, but you also want fans to be able to latch onto it. So I believe that at the decathlons where they actually have like fractional scoring for different things, where they're like, oh, the javelin throw shouldn't be worth as much as the mile run or whatever it is. Like, don't hold me to this, but something like that. So if I tune in and I'm a new fan and like, you know, you're trying to say to people, hey, go watch the CrossFit Games, and you tune in and the leaderboard is like, you need an abacus and, you know, a membership to a website to figure it out. Like, people can't be a fan of that sport very easily. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So at least like with what we've arrived at, usually, well, always, I think like the fittest ones end up on top, and it's easy-ish with a little bit of explanation to tune in and be like, okay, I get it. You know, I win, I get a lot of points. I won't, you know, most points wins. And, you know, the less good I do, I get punished for that.
So how about over the years, what are some other odd events that have came up? So I have a few in my mind, but which ones do you have? Okay. I have a couple that come to mind.
You mean odd?
For example, I mean, I'm just going to say it like it is. The LSIT, the softball throw, and the, dude, remember the 1RM strict pull up? Yes. And then the ammo can carry? Those four were just like bizarre. What else you got?
That was the skills test. The one that I really liked from that though.
Was that 11?
What's that?
What year was that?
That was in 2011. Yep.
Yeah.
And the only one I really liked about that was the max distance handstand walk because it was groundbreaking for us. It was the first time we saw people like, oh my God, you know, he can walk the length of a football field on his hands. And now of course people do that for time. Right. But that was my favorite part of that one. So the skills test was weird. And again, in that scenario, you had like 50-point scales and things like that. So you guys can find that if you Google skills 2. But the one that I thought, so another one that I think was really funny was in 2011, we had the med ball toss.
Oh,
the GHD
dude! Oh my God! How do we not talk about that?
Or sorry, that was 2012. And you went ball toss into track triplet, and you crushed this one. And it had one of my all-time favorite finishes ever. This is not it. This is Rich and Matt Chan racing to the finish line.
Oh yeah, it's a good one.
Of the track triplet.
This is 2012, right?
This is 12, yeah.
Oh man.
So there's Rich. But then, so what people, right immediately before this, every heat was on GHD sit-ups on the infield of the track. You know, it was just one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. So good.
Oh man. So Rich took that. But go to the GHD throw. Oh, look at it. And
like,
so guys,
it's cool. If I tuned in, I was like on ESPN, I'd be like, okay, all right, this is weird. I like it.
So what they were doing, and this was actually a lot harder than it looked, to have consistency, and they scored you based on how far you threw the balls. But you were trying to blend speed with throwing far enough, right? Because as soon as you got to that, you got off the GHD and you did something else. But all the balls that are in the middle of the stadium, you got points based on what line they passed by. And then obviously you ran over and you started your next event. But it was just
this was also the glory days of the spider cam shot that you're watching right now, dude, which is just a sexy piece of equipment.
Oh man.
And so look, so now he was going straight to the track to start that track triplet. So they get, I don't even remember what the reset time was, but straight to the track. And it was 3, 2, 1, go. While I got you here, I'll just I'll give you one of my favorite all-time finishes of the CrossFit Games. Whoops.
Man, yeah, because that GHD, dude, you totally. I hoped for people who are listening or watching that. I mean, that's one in time that, like, I totally forgot about that one.
This is a good one. And here
the
comes
Graham
Chris
Holmberg
Spieler
one.
Yeah. Holmberg.
Oh, this is a good one.
And Spieler just absolutely sells his lunch.
Oh,
and skids across the track just like a little skittle.
So good, dude.
Right.
Yeah, man, that was split snatches, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was split snatches. Yeah, have a quick look at this. It was bar muscle ups, and here you go.
It was bar muscle ups and split snatches. You had to move your feet.
And you had to alternate feet too. So it was just a really strange, not a lot of weight, but like weird.
Yeah,
and
dude,
I forget what you got. You'd gotten punished for something, but you were in an earlier heat during this. But it was one of the first times like you really crushed it running from what I remember.
Oh, nice. Yeah, dude, it's so funny though, because looking back on it, like GHD ball toss, like why would you ever do that? But it was like, and it was very weird because a lot of people, what they don't realize on some of these weird events is that from an athlete perspective, it's really difficult because it's hard to game plan exactly what it's going to feel like because you just don't know. So I remember I was testing, where should I set my foot pedal to? And then also when you reach back, like some of those balls would sometimes get stuck as they're coming down a little bit, like just a little bit. And because of that, it throws off your flow.
And the release point, like where do you release it? Where do you, yeah, man, there was a lot there.
Oh man, dude. And yeah. There's been some. What other ones? Let me take us back now. Now I'm really curious.
Okay, here's what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say a bunch. And what was apparent to me in watching this is that apparently 2011 was my favorite year. And
apparently,
just from a memory standpoint, so like including the one that we just went, or that was that was 13. But I've got Killer Cage. I've got the dog sled.
Killer Cage. Do you remember Killer Cage? Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So I'll show you Killer Cage. Another one of the most epic of all time in terms of finishes, both men's and the women's. This is the first time like Elizabeth Akinwale did something just blew my head off my shoulders. But I wanted to show you God, the beginning of it is hilarious. And this is 19. Okay, so I'm going to show you the intro, and this is vintage Rory, and that's why I think I'm happy with it. But
show it.
Okay. I was going through, of course, like everybody else, like I'm going through old pictures and stuff. I found this old school like me.
Oh wow! In your bow tie
at the update show desk, and these are from those days. So listen to the voiceover and everything. This is going to last like a minute. Do we have enough time for that?
Yeah, whatever.
Okay. Listen to this one. I got to share it with you. So this is like, I had never done a voiceover before. And these are the first ones I think that we did for ESPN.
And ESPN's like a pretty big company, You want to probably do it right.
If you're a sports fan, you might have heard of them.
The CrossFit Games are the world's premier test to find the fittest on earth.
And we just sat in an office for hours.
Oh, do you remember that one on the beach?
Yep. This is the first year of the Open, right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, 26,000.
17 semifinal regionals. Now, the 49 men and 47 women competing in the
I forget why there's
2011
49 and 47.
CrossFit
Something
Games
happened.
have 3 days and 10 unknown events to claim the title fittest.
Wow. 10
Of course,
events.
$150,000.
This is all post-production.
2011 Reebok CrossFit Games.
And then,
And that was the first time you'd ever done a voiceover?
yep. And here's the insert of the killer cage. And these were the days. So like, watch, me and Miranda are going to introduce the event. And they
I
stopped.
remember this.
And unveiled today for the first time ever.
Dude, and this was like, man, Rogue unveiling stuff overnight. This is when the magic was really starting.
Oh, man.
Look at these two clowns.
We are at the Home Depot Center in Carson, California.
Like, dude, this was my heyday.
Oh, look at you're sitting on top of the killer cage.
Oh, dude, I would call my friends and I'd be like, you guys have no idea. I got paid today to just like sit on top of a thing. All right, so
Dude.
now we're going to go watch the finish between.
But
Bridges
hey,
and
before
Champions.
you play it, I just wanted to take note on something that you said that I think was really interesting. That this started where Rogue would do the events overnight, and like, dude, from an athlete perspective, it used to be so traumatizing because you'd leave the stadium and you'd be wondering what the hell are they building, right? And then sure enough, and then Rogue can build whatever they want. You show up the next day and it's this giant thing, you know, and you're just like, what the hell is that? Oh, man.
And people think that we're overstating it, but it was like blackout curtains around, super tight security. People were furious if there was somebody in there that wasn't supposed to be in there. Like, the secrecy was a real deal. Like, it actually was, people were held accountable.
So let's talk about that for a quick second, because I think that's something that's really interesting. That's unique to this sport, right? Is the secrecy. So how secrecy is secrecy? Because as a guy that, like, look, I competed at the CrossFit Games 8 times. I knew about, I got a hint of, in maybe it was 2009, I might have had one idea that, no, I've never really heard anything about anything at all. Now, I'm also not seeking it out either. So how much of this stuff do you think gets leaked out?
Well, here's what I can tell you. Of the, like, maybe 2 leaks that I know of, I have confirmed one person who has lost their job because of breaching a contract that was based on non-disclosure. And that was, you know, like obviously this was 2011. People still then, well, no, sorry. We made these shows after the event. But now if you're going into a live production, like, you know, Zoom is a different story. But like, if we were doing this as an actual show and we knew what we were going to talk about, we probably would have created graphics in advance and then take that to the nth level. And if you're doing a television show, you're going to make like sexy athlete profiles, and you're going to make really cool graphics and workout descriptions and things like that. That starts months before the event. So it got to a point in the sport where you had to have as small as possible, a group of people who were writing scripts, doing voiceovers. It's the same as held true now with like the Open, where you have to create that stuff in advance. You can't do it overnight. You certainly can't wait until, you know, CrossFit makes an announcement of the workout. So yeah, people were under non-disclosure, and again, there's one person that I know of for sure who actually lost their job, at least with us. They weren't an employee; they were a contract worker, but it was taken tremendously seriously, man.
Huh? Yeah, dude. I did an Open announcement.
And even I'll tell you this, man.
Go ahead.
Well, no, I was going to Open announcement as well. There was a time where, you remember BKG versus Dan Bailey in the garage?
Yeah.
Okay, for that Open announcement, there was a kind of a difficulty in, do we keep the garage open? Do we start in the garage? Like, how are we going to do it? And what I was like, I was pushing Dave so hard. I was like, please tell them the workout. I'll announce it outside the garage. We'll open the garage door and they just start going. And he was like, there's no chance. Like, he would not budge that to give them the workout like an hour before it was announced, 10 minutes before it was announced. Like, it just never happened, you know?
Dude, so on that note, I had the exact same situation. So I was there for the first Open announcement ever with Chris Clever at the Home Depot Center. Do you remember it? Or maybe it wasn't the first ever, but maybe it was. Yeah. Me and Chris Clever.
That was before they were even live, right?
Yeah. We went and like demoed them or whatever. And we were like doing them. And then, but dude, it drove me nuts. I showed up to the Home Depot Center maybe at like 9 a.m. and we were doing it under the lights at like 8 p.m. because he wanted to make it like super dramatic. And he didn't tell us the workout for 12 hours. We're just sitting there like, bro, come on, like, dude. And he wouldn't tell us. And that was his dedication to keeping it close to the chest. And I just remember we were just sitting there, and he would just like mess with us, like, okay, you want me to tell you? Be like, yeah, bro. Be like, nah, I'm not going to. So, anyways, all right, play that finish. Play that finish.
I will. I was actually trying to find what you're talking about just now. Yeah, that level of secrecy.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Play that. We got to finish the finish, and then we could jump over to the open.
Okay.
You're gonna leave the viewers hanging right now.
All right, fine. But the last funny thing about the other story, the other parts of that story, I think it was 2014. We did one in Santa Cruz. You were there. Rich was there.
Oh yeah.
And that was one of my favorite behind the scenes. Shit, we could find that too. But where you're like, all right, Dave. So like, when do we find out the workout? He's like, or he got done messing with you. Do you remember that?
Yeah, dude. Because I mean, at that point, I had done, I don't know, 3 or 4 open live I've done so many of those announcements that,
yes.
Yeah. Anyways, that Santa Cruz one was fun.
All right, here we are. The finale of top men's heat for Killer Cage, and this is we're picking up the action, entering the final round. So you would bike Killer Cage, bike Killer Cage, bike Killer Cage. Matt Chan is your leader in the clubhouse, but Josh Bridges is closing in on him.
Of a CrossFit workout. These guys
And at this time, we were on Watt bikes, which was the first time we had seen a Watt bike.
That's right. Yeah, I guess the closest thing would be like the new Concept 2 bikes, right?
Yeah. And then, dude, some of the people are wearing the hybrid Reebok shoes that were half Oli, half regular shoe. I'm in this heat.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, and there's front squats. That's right. There was front squats. Oh, dude.
Yeah. 5 of them, right? This is the last one?
This is the final one, yep.
Okay, so this Killer Cage was tough, man, because it was just ruining hands. If I could do it all over again, I would have worn different grips.
So look, Rich is on the bars, Chan drops off, and Bridge is just starting. But look at this guy. And this is, again, like it doesn't look like a lot of people in the stadium, but people were just losing it. And this turnaround right here.
Oh, yeah, he just jumps right back up again, huh? Oh, and if you fall, you didn't have to go back to the beginning, did you? No.
No, you didn't have to go back to the beginning, but you lost all that momentum. And you see Rich on the far side.
Oh, and Josh Bridges passes up Chan, drops off. Oh, the front squats must have been before the bike. Look at, that's fired up Josh.
And the old patented Josh Bridges, man. That was like one of the first times we saw him do that celebration.
Oh man, I had the same thing happen to me though. Like that was a tough event. I'm on the monkey bars right now. That was a tough one, dude. Oh man, that was a good one. That's at Home Depot Center. For those people who had never experienced the Home Depot Center, it was something just super magical, man. That tennis stadium, the energy just erupted. I can only imagine what it's like to be a tennis player in there, like just being one person. Because, bro, at night under the lights, that place would go crazy. The energy was, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Sometimes too much. Yeah.
Well,
so
and especially for us who had never been in a professional stadium before, it was like, for you guys to know it was special, but even for us, like as putting on the event, it was like, this is insane. This is magic.
It was a whole different ballgame. Dude, so if you wanted to just go to the open thing, we could kind of start closing the loop on. Dude, I could talk about some of this shit all day, but what people don't realize is for the open announcements, Dave would just like text you like, hey, do you want to do this? And for the most part, everybody would just say yes. And then you would do your open announcement. There's a lot of pressure in those open announcements because just you against somebody else, very much so like one-on-one, mano-a-mano. And, then from there, you still have your regionals and all that kind of stuff. The regionals were super stressful too compared to the games because it only took 3 or 4 people. I mean, it was tight. But if you go to the open announcement, I'll talk you through it. You have the one with me and Chris Clever?
Man, I'm trying to find the one you and Chris Clever. They've got it well hidden. I've got what was it? It was that was 12.5, right?
I have no idea. But
12.5. I got 13.5 with you and Froning.
No, that's not what we want. Just put into YouTube CrossFit Games Open 12.5. We're in the workout instructions.
It's what?
Just look up 12.5 CrossFit Games, and this is going to be, if not the first, one of the first open announcements. And we're in the stadium by ourselves, and no music was played. I'll add some color to this. Are you able to pull it up?
Yeah, we got to get through the advertisement on YouTube first.
Oh, of course. This is a non-monetized podcast. Here.
Oh, well, it's not apparently.
Oh, no, I mean ours.
Here.
Oh, look, he's wearing a NorCal CrossFit shirt. So, dude, we're in this stadium, and it's just – here, you fast forward a bunch.
2008 CrossFit Games.
And so we get there, and so, you know, Dave tells us the workout, right? And then all of a sudden, it's like 3, 2, 1, go. And Boz is Chris's judge. Dave is my judge. And, you know, he's kind of focused on other stuff. But, like, I'm just doing my reps. And Dave's like, we need music. And someone just took out their phone and just put it on the floor and started playing music. It's right here. Like, watch. Just press play for a second and, like, listen to the music. There's no music. Oh, they might have put it on later.
They put it over with.
Yeah.
So that's the backstory. The backstory on this, for people who don't know, is Heber and Dave and Boz went on the road in, like, basically it was like a 7-day trip to get all 5 workouts in different locations. So they went Cookville to Iceland to somewhere else to you guys doing this finally at the Home Depot. So this is after, like, a rugged charge for those guys.
Actually, it wasn't obviously the first opening because it's 12.5, so that was stupid of me. But The point is, you're in this Home Depot center by yourself. You know, Castro's my judge. Just my favorite part was my favorite part was, like, you know, I start my reps, I'm like 10 in or whatever it is, and Dave's like, we need music. And someone just takes out their phone, puts on, like, you know, Nickelback, and it's just like
that's how you do it.
Oh man, dude. So many good times. Well,
sorry, now that we're on it, you remember the 2011 announcements? They were long, drawn out in Tony's.
Oh, yeah.
Look, here. I'll show you a demo, girl. You want to see a demo? Look at this athlete right here. So here's Tony.
Oh. With his Budweiser shirt on.
Look at this. Look at these numbers. Boom. 15,000 people registered.
And Tony's all fired up.
Tyson doing some
Oh my gosh, look at Tyson.
And then I'm pretty sure me and him went head to head. Look at that round.
Oh, is that you? Look at that extension. Oh, you're showing. Wait, is this you in 2011 in
Tony's garage, man? Yeah. Look at this.
Oh, that is so good, dude.
Look at Innovates on RX shirt.
Oh man.
So we're trying to show, like, bad reps.
Yeah. Oh.
So good. And then I'm pretty sure me and Tice went head to head. No, we didn't show it. All right. That was one of the first showdowns. Oh man. Hey, so to finish off this conversation, I'm sure we'll have many, many more. Yeah. The Roe versus Boz. Who officially is in the lead? It's got to be Boz. We were totally even, and then I put my athletic career in, like, pre-ACL tear and post-ACL tear. Oh, I see what you're doing. 2014, I had a surgery, but still did the open, and I still managed to win one workout. It was the power clean and handstand put. The first time we saw a new handstand push-up, whatever standard, and so I did okay on that one. And then the next year, I think I got swept, and then he got injured, and so it's actually a mess, dude. We're probably, like, sort of close to tied. So, but that stopped, like, how many years ago, or is it done, or are you still on? We did our last one when was the last live open announcement? 2018 or 19. Oh yeah, because you guys would do them live after the athletes would do it. Yep. Or the competitors or whatever. Okay. Oh man. Well, dude, Rory, I hope, I'm really looking forward to the feedback on these episodes because there's just a bunch of banter about the old school days. There is zero business talk.
zero like educate. I mean, there's like 3 educational pieces in here.
Historical
Like,
education, right?
historical education, but it's more just, you know, oh man, I hope people turn their brain off for a little bit. They're on the assault bike just listening to us banter, or I mean, visually on YouTube it's gonna look really good. But
yeah. Well, and then yeah, the takeaway also, like you said, being that you can find so much of this stuff if you know how to look for it, and it could keep you busy for hours and hours and hours. Just type in year and CrossFit Games and search videos, and there's a bunch there.
oh man, have some fun with it. Well, Rory, I appreciate you, brother. I'm gonna jump on. I'm at the gym, gonna do our thing. But dude, I hope you and everybody in Tennessee is crushing it, brother.
We are, and thanks for having me, man. Yeah, anytime. I still got I still got 17 tabs open, so there's way more to talk about.
17 more tabs. We got to get Rory back on, and we got to keep doing this. This got to be like a series. Hey, on Instagram is Rory McKernan.
Yep. Just keeping my name at everything because I'm not creative. So yeah, YouTube. I kind of lost a little bit of steam, but I'll be picking it back up. But yeah, man, find me at Rory McKernan.
All right, brother. Have a great day, man. We'll talk soon.
Okay, bud. Thanks.
Bye.